kings and queens, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome. You guys are in for a treat. I'm going to be talking to you guys about Caribana, which is located in Toronto, Canada. That was my first international Caribbean festival, and how I was able to do that was my friend Shayna, who decided to go. So I reached out to her, and I think at that time she already had like a full house, but she said, you know, definitely come and we can just link up. So to make the long story short, people dropped, you know how that goes. And she reached out to me and said, hey, you know, you are more than willing to come. So I was like, okay, perfect. So she put me in the group chat, and we were all like really excited about it. We mentioned about events that we were gonna go to, and we mentioned about transportation, like how were we gonna get there. And most of us we drove there, and I did a carpool with like 7 people, and I think I had to like pay like $50 for the driver. And then the stay was like around like 3 nights, and it came a total of like $270. And then we had to pay for the events. Honestly, I don't even remember how much the events that we paid for cost. But I would say when it comes to Caribana, I want to say with Airbnb and the events and then the transportation, I would say like around $450, maybe $500, which all came a total, which isn't bad. And then I saved up like $200 because our US money is like a lot more than theirs, so that helped out a lot. And I had a blast, honestly, I really did. And the only thing I would probably recommend to people is to stick with your host, because the host knows what's going on, how things are gonna, you know, happen, like all of that. They know more information than you do. And sometimes when you go with like other people, it tends to not work that way. So if you are invited to something and your friend is not really going along with the host, grab your friend. Or if you don't want to grab your friend, leave your friend and go with your host, because I had a blast. And mind you, at that time, I didn't really know Shayna and Bianca. But when I was with them the whole time, we got so close, to the point where we did Labor Day weekend together, Trinidad together, and there's going to be so much more Caribbean festivals and parties that we're planning on doing together. So stick with your host, for sure.
Yes.
It
was the trio amigos.
Word. So guys, these are my 2 best friends, Bianca and Shayna.
Hello.
Yes. As I said in my intro, at that time, I didn't know Shayna and Bianca, but I knew I was in good hands when Audrey mentioned to me about Shayna, because Shayna's pretty much like family to the Caribbean friends that I always mention. So I knew I was definitely in good hands, and when I went to Caribana, I met Bianca, and we just vibed, honestly. Like, the both of us, we just all vibe with each other. And like anywhere they went, I was like, I'm going with you guys.
Yeah, no, it was immediate. It was like perfect.
Right, for sure. So the first thing I want to ask is like, why an Airbnb and not a hotel?
I prefer Airbnbs because we did have like our own space. If we wanted to like cook, we had our whole kitchen. We had our own refrigerator. Like it's a lot easier. We were gonna be walking around in jewels and feathers and shit. Like,
right.
You know, the hotel might have given us a little bit of side eye, thinking that we were gonna like mess the room up or whatever. But at the Airbnb, we were able to do it all ourselves, especially since there was 10 of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, because I've done Caribana twice, and both times was an Airbnb. And when it comes to any carnival fete thing, you want to be able to lime in your own spot, like be able to like turn up, like bump the soca and you know, lime in your own spot, and that's easier to do in an Airbnb than a hotel. And I would say, unless you're going for a small period of time, like it's more doable for Canada, I think, but in general, it's cheaper to do an Airbnb for a long time than a hotel. Like paying a hotel night by night is usually
can get expensive.
Whereas like the Airbnb, especially you're splitting it with people, by the time you split it, it's almost like paying for one hotel night when you're there for multiple nights. Right. So like I would always do Airbnb over a hotel.
So now that I know, this was your third time then, Shayna, with the Caribana, or was that?
No, it was my second.
Oh, it was your second time.
Mm-hmm. It was my first.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So what made you want to go again?
Anka said that she wanted to go, and and I wanted to go with her. So I was like, I'll go. But I would say that like if she hadn't wanted to, that I maybe wouldn't have, only because Toronto is. It's a smaller carnival experience, kind of, where it's very similar to New York Labor Day.
Right.
So for the fact that I don't have to move, I live in New York, I don't have to go anywhere to get the same experience, then it's not necessarily worth me spending money to go across the border and have that experience.
Gotcha.
But it's still, again, if you have your friends to like go with, it's still worth that experience of doing it. I would just say it's so similar to New York that for me there's not a point of doing it like too many times.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It is a nice like starting off point.
Exactly.
It is the one that a lot of people have heard of, and there's like a decent like amount of people that go.
Yeah.
And it is a different city than I was used to, since I'm from New York. I know New York City. It was like interesting to go see Toronto because I've never been. So it was cool in that way. But I definitely understand what you mean. Like Labor Day, like New York City's right there, so like it's it's easier that I can just like drive a couple hours and be in the city and do Labor Day.
So I know that you guys, when it came to the carnival itself or the parade, that you guys made your own costumes and you guys didn't play mass. So what made you guys do that instead of playing like the whole money for the mass and stuff like that?
Well, I would say for me, like, especially if you're trying to go to other carnivals where it's kind of like a year-round budgeting, it's definitely worth the money to like put your money into playing mass for a carnival that's bigger, because then it's the excitement of all of that really pays off, like to be a princess in the band and everything. But if it's a smaller carnival like Caribana is, like Labor Day is, which I mean for Labor Day for me, like again, because I don't have to move, I don't have to go anywhere.
I'm willing to spend
like I didn't spend
$300.
I didn't spend money on lodging. I didn't spend money like mad things, so I can spend money on a mask costume because I didn't pay for a lot of other things. But to me, like going to a smaller carnival like that to Toronto, it's not worth the money. Whereas this, like I made this, I guess I'm gonna, it's big.
You can block me, it's okay.
Yeah. This I made, like the materials cost me like $50. And then I just, put it together how I felt. And then fences are suggestions. They're just a suggestion.
No,
hop the fence.
No, there is no hopping the fence. That's the other thing at Caribana. So even in Labor Day, it's not hard to jump in, or storm as we call it. But in Toronto, it was the easiest thing because the cops who were supposed to hold the gates closed were holding the gates open to let us in. So, and it's not just because we were in costume, because we were with friends who were not in costume.
I wasn't in costume.
And people were literally just walking in the streets, and like you can follow behind the parade and just end up walking into the street with them, and then you catch up with the rest of the parade.
Is there any like recommendations or tips that you would tell people when it comes to Caribana Festival?
Please do not leave your house and go to a hip-hop party. I don't care about Aubrey, Jimmy, Drake. I don't care. Don't tell me about Ovo. I don't care.
So
You
yeah,
came to wine. Go to the parties in which you are going to wine, because them hip hop / reggae / whatever parties are gonna flop. It's gonna flop. If they can actually have a day fet, then do a wet fet. But if it's not in the daytime, do not give yourself hypothermia for their wet fet.
Toronto is cold, even in the summer. At nighttime, it still gets cold.
It's like 55.
And they were out here trying to hose us down with cold water in the cold. So no. If it was a day party, it would have been perfect. That would have been. I would have taken it.
Right.
I would have been hot. It would have been great.
Right.
But if it is a Juve party at nighttime, it'll miss me. No, thank you.
That's what, like
the paint right in our eyes. Do you remember this?
They paint our face for sure.
That's what. So jab Juve.
If you're listening to us promoters, jab Juve. Put it in the day, please. Like it was supposed to be.
You heard about that it was lit and it was
we
crazy.
Drove there,
that's true. But it's
didn't
cold.
Start yet? Oh my gosh.
So yeah. Also, if it is a concert type of party, so like we went to one that was Cass, and then we went to another one that was Machelle and Sean Paul and like a bunch of other people. Go to that on time. I know you Caribbeans. You want to come in start the party. Go to it on time. If it is another type of, if it's a Juve or just like a club party, you can go late. Please go late, because you will be standing around waiting for it to start, and it will not have been close. So I would recommend like going hour, 2 hour, maybe even 3 hours late if it's one of those type of parties. If it's a type of promoter party. But if it's a concert event, go on time, because you want to get all the way up to the front. You want to experience it. You want to be like screaming the lyrics in his face. You know, you're gonna want to get there.
All right, everybody. So that is a wrap. You guys can look at the video, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Thank you.
Hey.
Make up yourself. Baby, I walk in, put in a man with a woman TikToking. She stand up in a corner, peeping and watching. Party, time to represent. See you right now. Show me your Where's Barbados? St. Lucia.
Eating good, ladies. Eating good.
Juve ambassador. Right? We've been doing this for like almost
I'm like, damn. You gotta keep a straight face, right? Well, yeah, and then I have to help wipe them. And then
Now it's time for me to let you.